What is at stake for your position this election cycle, and why is it so important to vote?
This is the primary election in our time. We now know how bad it can be. We've got to reverse this course.
Unemployment in Oregon is north of 20%. We are in the middle of a pandemic. 137 Oregonians have died from COVID in the last 8 weeks. This election will determine how and when we recover.
This is a decade-defining election, and we have the ability to elect progressive leaders who think outside of the box and are politically courageous enough to push against these conventions that have propped up the status quo that continues to keep us back.
And what's at stake is generational. The most important thing right now for us to maintain and fight for our democracy. Democracy in America, as flawed as it is, it's the best thing running. But we need to fight, especially in this pandemic, to keep democracy alive.
So for me, I'm going to be fighting for the workers, and that's what's at stake. Having someone who is a fighter for what's right for the people.
What's at stake at this time? The people's voices, most importantly. The people have not been heard for some time here in Ashland. Transparency, equity, a city government that allows a place for the unhoused, affordable housing, and workforce housing. So important.
It's important to vote simply to have your voice heard. If you're not voting, you're saying that you're willing to go with the first person who steps up. And oftentimes the person who steps up doesn't have the community's best interests.
It is vitally important that people vote. It is one of the ways that your voices are heard. And for this season, for the first time in 24 years, you're getting a legitimate choice in the 3rd district for somebody that's going to represent you and your families. I think what is vitally important when it comes to the federal government, again, I've already highlighted it when I was discussing it earlier. Where does the money go? Right now, it's going to those at the very top. It's going to corporations. It is not going to the workers. It is not going to families that are struggling. We need somebody that's going to be a champion for the people. So I ask that you choose a fighter.
It is very important to vote at the state level and at the city level, because right now we don't have much of a federal government. That's unfortunate, but I believe that to be the case. So I'd like to see people turn in the ballots. I know a lot of Oregonians are really slow getting in their ballots, but they'll get them in. I have confidence.
So can you imagine from day one, a person that has never represented a person in Multnomah County, has only represented the government, or has only represented employers, or only represented corporations, taking the bench and trying to handle the scales of justice and trying to do what's fair. And they have only been jaded by, there's all kinds of attorneys to represent the government in corporations. There's rarely people that are going to stand up for the people of Multnomah County. That's what's at stake in my seat.
That being said, the generation that's coming behind me, I would love for them to see an Afro-American male, some Afro-American males in the political arena in the city of Portland.
It's important to vote, first off, because we need our voices heard. And if we don't speak up, nobody's going to hear them. So it's important for that reason. And for the Metro specifically, it addresses our short-term and our long-term economic and ecological sustainability. So if we think about your vote is going to impact not just what's happening to you today, but how you're going to get to work in 5 years, how your kids may be getting to work in 10 years, or your grandkids in 20 years. It addresses how we function as a community, and that's important and worthy of taking a moment to vote.
2020 is the time for us to make a big difference, both nationally, but we also know locally, that is where we can see the most progressive change. That's why I'm running. That's why I've earned the support of over 150 trusted leaders and organizations. now is the time that we must work urgently to address the systemic equities that have persisted for far too long.
There's no more time to waste. We want to see our lived experiences reflected in the decisions made in our community, and this election is the epitome of think globally, act locally. So let's act together. Turn in your ballots, May 19th.